Today, we're diving into 3 legal provisions that are really the foundation of Indian law. Now, they're not just some dusty old rules. They actually shape everything from our basic rights to our day-to-day deals, and getting a handle on them is key to making sense of the world around us.
Okay, so here's a bit of a riddle for you. What could a VIP's car, a terrible fight, and a scammy online ad possibly have in common? I know, it sounds like a totally random collection of things, right? But believe me, they're all connected by a set of rules designed to protect you. And by the time we're done here, you'll see exactly how.
So let's start with the big one, the law's biggest, most important promise, the absolute guarantee of fairness that holds up our entire legal system.
I want you to just picture this for a second. It's a hot day, and there's a long line of traffic. One line is for everybody else, inching along, and then there's this other path where a VIP car just gets to zoom right past everyone. Well, that's precisely the kind of thing our Constitution is designed to shut down. The moment the law starts bending for who you are, it stops being the law. And this, right here, this is Article 14. You can think of it as the great equalizer. It's got 2 really important parts. Equality before the law just means nobody is above the law, no special treatment. And equal protection of the laws means that folks in similar situations should be treated in a similar way. And notice those key words. Any person means everyone, citizens or not, and the state means the entire government, from top to bottom, has to play by this rule.
Now, you might be thinking, does this mean the law has to treat every single person in the exact same way? Well, not quite. The law can create different groups or classifications, but, and this is a big but, it has to pass a strict 2-part test to be considered fair. First, is the difference between the groups clear and does it make sense? And second, is that difference actually connected to what the law is trying to achieve? If the answer to either of those is no, that rule is in trouble. This quote, it really gets to the heart of a huge shift in legal thinking. A landmark case came along and basically said, hey, it's not just about unfair groups anymore. Now, any action by the government that is just random or based on a whim, what lawyers call arbitrary, is seen as a flat-out violation of equality. So, if you take away one thing about Article 14, let it be this. The law must be fair. It can't be random. This is our fundamental protection against a system based on whims instead of rules. Okay, so we've got this big principle of fairness. Now let's see how it plays out when things get really serious, when we're talking about protecting our very lives. So when does taking a life cross the line into the crime of murder? You know, not every act that results in a death is treated the same way by the law. Not even close. The critical difference, the one thing that separates one charge from another, is what was going on inside the offender's head, their intention and their knowledge at that exact moment. Let's break this down. Think of culpable homicide as the big umbrella term. It's basically causing death with a certain level of intent or knowledge that your act could be fatal. Murder, on the other hand, is the most severe, the most aggravated form of that. So a simple way to remember it is this. All murders are culpable homicides, but not all culpable homicides are murders. So how do courts figure this out? Well, they often use this 3-part test from a very important case. They ask, 1, was an injury caused? Simple enough. 2, did the offender mean to cause that specific injury? And 3, was that particular injury, objectively speaking, enough to kill someone in the normal course of things? If the answer is yes, yes, and yes, well, that's pointing very strongly towards a murder charge. But, of course, context is everything. The law gets that. Even if an act checks all those boxes for murder, there are 5 key exceptions that can actually reduce the charge. For example, if the act happened in the heat of passion during a sudden fight with no pre-planning, it might be considered culpable homicide, not murder. And what about the ultimate punishment? For murder, the death penalty is on the table, but it is not the default. The Supreme Court has made it crystal clear that it should only be handed down in the rarest of the rare cases, when the crime is so shocking that life imprisonment just isn't considered an adequate punishment. It is very much the exception, not the rule. All right, from protecting our lives, let's switch gears to protecting our trust and our property. We've all heard people throw around the term 420, but what does it actually mean when a broken promise becomes a criminal act? First off, let's be super clear. This is a big deal. Section 420 of the Indian Penal Code is specifically about cheating that tricks someone into handing over their property.
And the punishment? It's serious. We're talking up to 7 years in prison plus a fine.
The absolute key to understanding this crime is timing. The crime isn't just about a broken promise down the road. The law looks for something called intent at inception. This means the plan to deceive you had to be there from the very beginning, at time zero, when the promise was first made. And this right here is the vital difference between a crime and a civil dispute. Cheating is a lie from the start, designed to get your property. A breach of contract is a promise that was made honestly, but for whatever reason couldn't be kept later on. One is a criminal matter, the other is a civil one. Big difference. So what if you think you've been a victim? Okay, here are some immediate practical things you can do. Save everything. Take screenshots of all messages, file a police report, an FIR, and cite Section 420. If it happened online, report it to the cybercrime portal. And call your bank right away. These steps are absolutely critical. So we've looked at fairness, at life, and at property. Let's pull all these threads together now and see how these different legal codes build a complete system of protection for you. This table really lays it out perfectly. Think of it as your pyramid of protection. At the very foundation, you have Article 14, guaranteeing your fundamental right to fairness. Above that, Section 302 protects your most basic right, your right to life. And in your daily interactions, Section 420 protects your right to trust and property. See how they all work together? So when you look at it, the law is this massive, powerful rulebook that's supposed to create a just and safe society. But that brings up one last question. In this whole complex system, who is the single most important player? It's you. It has to be, because a law is only as powerful as the citizens who understand it. By knowing these rules, you're not just a subject of the law, you become an active participant in building a fairer society for all of us.